Voluntary assisted dying in Australia. Ethical considerations for and against voluntarily assisted dying. A growing number of states in Australia are choosing to allow voluntary assisted dying as a choice for those who are approaching the end of their life. This procedure entails giving terminally sick patients a lethal substance at their request under official medical supervision to assist in their death. However, VAD remains a heavy subject for debate. With this, two camps emerge, those who are pro VAD and those against it, both holding ethical reasoning to back their stance. Extent of patient autonomy versus non-maleficence versus beneficence. Probed individuals, regardless of being the patient or the relative, uphold the principle of self-determination or autonomy. In a qualitative study, the theme of autonomy emerged with VAD advocates underscoring the significance of patients' autonomy in matters pertaining to their own lives, particularly when confronted with terminal illness and excruciating pain. They contend that individuals ought to possess the freedom to determine their own trajectories, including the ability to terminate their existence at any time. However, this extent of patient autonomy overrides the ethical principle of non-maleficence. The principle of non-maleficence, commonly known as do no harm, is a fundamental ethical tenet for healthcare providers, bounding them to conduct themselves in a way that prioritizes the well-being and safety of individuals under their care, ensuring that they do not cause injury or harm to patients. VAD is a process that heavily involves the participation of many medical professionals. This potentially explains why healthcare professionals are the most hesitant with VAD compared to the Australian mass. In study on the impact of VAD in nursing practice, nurses express that participating in VAD is a violation of their moral duty. They quote, "It is part of a nurse's duty of care and nurses. Hippocratic oath to do no harm to patients. Despite this, the principle of beneficence is seemingly upheld with VAD, with the relief of pain and suffering being the benefit factors. The conviction relies on the duty to mitigate pain and suffering or to act in the patient's utmost welfare in respect to voluntary assisted dying. VAD as a suicide in a criminal case. Some against VAD proposes that it is the same as suicide. In the ruling of federal court, assisted suicide is considered a criminal offense. Federal Court Justice Wendy Abraham says that the act of terminating one's life by voluntarily assisted dying is included in the definition of suicide, as stated in the Commonwealth Criminal Code Act of 1995. On the other hand, Go Gentle Australia has another thought to this matter. They said that taking the choice to engage in voluntary assisted dying should not be conflated with life or death decision. Conversely, it represents the agency with which a person with terminal illness determines the manner and timing of their confrontation with their impending unavoidable demise, in addition to the pain they are compelled to endure. Sanctity of life versus quality of life. One of the persistent to the opposition to VAD is the sanctity of life, where life is deemed inviolable and death should come naturally. This premise is heavily influenced by religious groups. For instance, the Sydney Diocese of the Anglican Church firmly opposed VAD, primarily that is opposed the Sixth Commandment, which explicitly forbids homicide. Furthermore, they noted that the resistance to VAD is present in numerous religious traditions, including Christianity, which reverse the sanctity of human life. Countering this is this consideration on the quality of life of an individual. Without VAD, you either have to watch your loved ones die slowly in agony or come home to find they had died alone by their own hand, says the 21-year-old Bertie Daniel, whose father Laurie killed himself after being denied with VAD after suffering from multiple sclerosis. Similarly, this is the first theme that emerged in a study on the public's reasoning with VAD, where pain and suffering are enough determinants to qualify an individual with imminent death for VAD. Safety of patients who have elected for VAD. The safety of patients elected for VAD relies on all-encompassing legal structure and regulatory protocols. On the context of the inclusion criteria set forth by these regulations, it ensures that VAD is only restricted to individuals who satisfy particular requirements, such as if they have terminal illness accompanied by a restricted life expectancy and are undergoing excruciating pain that palliative care is unable to sufficiently alleviate. It is also facilitate the prevention of bad misuse or abuse and guarantees the end of life options are exclusively allocated individual who genuinely require them. Regulation also delineate the procedural steps necessary to accomplish uniformity and consistency in the acquisition of BAD. This encompasses the need for healthcare professionals to conduct multiple assessments, acquire informed consent from the patient, and meticulously record each stage of the procedure to prevent oversights and so that VAD can be administered in a regulated and accountable fashion. Multiple assessments by healthcare professionals offer as a safeguard against coercion, including stipulations that patients must submit multiple requests for BAD over a period of time and a comprehensive evaluation of their capacity to make decisions. Lastly, healthcare professionals engaged in the provisions of BAD are required to undergo specialized training to guarantee their proficiency in administering the BAD process, determining patients' eligibility and obtaining informed consent. In a cross-sectional study by Wilmot, doctors who completed mandatory VAD training were found that the training was helpful and was confident in their knowledge and application of VAD legislation. Impact of VAD in advanced care planning process. Advanced Care Planning Process, ACP, is a proactive procedure that entails dialogues among healthcare providers, patients, and their families in order to express preferences and reach resolutions regarding forthcoming medical interventions. The advanced care planning process involves the identification of individuals who may benefit the advanced care planning, evaluation of their current health condition and preferences, participations in dialogues to establish treatments objectives are involved. This is then followed by formulating a comprehensive care plan implementation in collaboration with healthcare professionals and room for revisions to guarantee its congruence with the person's changing requirements and preferences. Concerning end-of-life care and advanced care planning, conversations surrounding voluntary assisted dying may be initiated alongside various factors, such as preferences for palliative care, the implementation of life-sustaining intervention, and the choices concerning the end-of-life phase. Now, the incorporation of voluntary assisted dying into the process of advanced care planning can have substantial influence on palliative care practices and give rise to critical ethical concerns. Although BAD may grant individuals autonomy and control in relations to their final decisions, it has the potential to impact the delivery and perception of palliative care services. There is a contention that the provision of BAD could divert attention from comprehensive palliative care methodologies, potentially compromising the standard of care of patients who opt not to utilize VAD. The integration of BAD into advanced care planning documents can also complicate the advanced health directives. VAD is heavily regulated and only given to patients with intact decision-making skills. VAD also involves several reassessments which requires the patient's consciousness in contrast with the nature of an advanced health directive. Furthermore, Advanced care planning can permit significant others to be substitute decision makers, whereas VAD requires the patient itself to provide the consent to demonstrate sound decision making skills in order for his autonomy to be recognized and become eligible for VAD. In conclusion, discussing about VAD accentuates the need for ongoing and future research studies and open discussion regarding on this matter. It is important to understand how VAD plays huge impacts on patients, families, and healthcare systems. It can help alleviate fears and make sure VAD is carried out in a way that is considerate to those who are involved. These are the references. Thank you.